So here's the thing about the Galactic Council. When you get a dozen different species together in one space station, all claiming to represent the pinnacle of their respective civilizations, you'd think they could handle a simple security breach without losing their collective minds. You would be wrong. Commander Threll, a 7-foot-tall reptilian from Soros Prime, slammed his clawed hand on the conference table hard enough to make the holographic display flicker. This is a code red situation, people. We have a Class 5 Predator loose in the civilian sectors. Around the circular chamber, representatives from across the galaxy were doing what politicians do best, panicking spectacularly. My entire delegation is barricaded in our quarters, squeaked Ambassador Pip, a small furry creature who looked like someone had crossed a hamster with a nervous breakdown. We can hear it howling through the ventilation shafts. It's hunting us. The howling is a fear tactic, announced Counselor Vreen, whose species had 3 eyes specifically evolved to watch for predators. All 3 eyes were currently wide with terror. My xenobiology team analyzed the vocalizations. It's establishing territorial dominance before it feeds. Feeds on what exactly? Pip's voice went up an octave. Us? Is it going to feed on US? Please, everyone, remain calm, Threll said, which is what people say right before everyone stops remaining calm. Security Chief Click, show them the footage. Click, an insectoid whose species had been prey animals for millions of years before developing space travel, nervously activated the security feed. The hologram displayed grainy footage of a corridor in the station's habitat ring. For a moment, nothing happened. Then it appeared. The creature moved through the hallway with the confident stride of something that had never known fear. Golden fur covered its muscular frame. Its mouth hung open, revealing rows of sharp white teeth designed for tearing meat. Worst of all, its eyes faced forward, the universal sign of a predator species. It paused, turned its head toward the camera, and then, horror of horrors, it made a sound. A deep, rumbling bark that echoed through the speakers and made half the council members dive under their seats. Turn it off! Turn it off! Someone screamed. That's not even the worst part. Click's antennae drooped in despair. It escaped from the xenobiology lab where they were studying Deathworld fauna. According to the records, this specimen comes from Earth. The chamber went silent. Earth. The Deathworld that had recently joined the Galactic Council. The planet so horrifically dangerous that its dominant species had to evolve as persistence hunters just to survive long enough to invent agriculture. The humans brought a predator to the station. Vreen's 3 eyes somehow got even wider. What were they thinking? Apparently, their scientists wanted to study cross-species domestication patterns. Click explained, sounding like he was reading a suicide note. The creature was in a containment field, but there was a power fluctuation during the maintenance cycle and now it's hunting us through our own corridors. Threll looked like he was aging in real time. Contact the human delegation immediately. If this is their predator, they're responsible for containing it. Already tried, sir, Click said. They said they're running late to the council session. Something about traffic? Traffic. The station was facing a predator crisis, and the humans were stuck in traffic. Somewhere in the distance, another howl echoed through the ventilation system. It sounded closer this time. Ambassador Pip fainted. The emergency session was in full swing, meaning everyone was talking over each other and accomplishing absolutely nothing when the chamber doors hissed open. Sorry, we're late. Ambassador Rita Kowalski strode in like she was arriving at a coffee shop, not an intergalactic crisis. She was a stocky woman in her 40s with the kind of expression that suggested she'd seen it all and wasn't impressed by most of it. The transport tube was down, and then we had to take the scenic route through the agricultural sector. Do you guys know there's a smell situation happening with the Glorbian fertilizer pods? Behind her, trying to keep up, was a 10-year-old human child with dark hair and a ponytail and a backpack covered in colorful patches. She was staring around the council chamber with the wide-eyed wonder of someone who'd been promised this field trip would be boring. Ambassador Kowalski. Threll's voice had the tight quality of someone who was this close to losing it. Is that a human juvenile? This is my daughter, Emma. School's out for some holiday or another, and apparently human childcare is still too primitive for me to figure out, so here we are. Bring your kid to work day at the Galactic Council. She'll probably write an essay about it. Hi. Emma waved cheerfully at the room full of aliens, several of whom were still hiding under their seats. Ambassador, we have a situation. Threll gestured at the security footage, which Click helpfully replayed. The golden predator stalked across the screen again, and that bone-chilling howl filled the chamber. The human delegation, all 5 of them, leaned forward to watch. Rita squinted at the hologram. Her second-in-command, A young officer named Danny Park tilted his head. Is that? Danny started. Oh no, Rita muttered. A Class 5 predator from your death world has escaped containment, Vreen announced dramatically. It's currently loose in the civilian sectors, hunting. We've had reports of territorial vocalizations, aggressive posturing, and predatory stalking behavior. 3 delegations have evacuated to their ships. The Piplings are demanding hazard compensation. Emma had gone very quiet, which any parent knows is more concerning than noise. She'd moved closer to the holographic display, standing on her tiptoes to get a better look. Her eyes were locked on the screen with an intensity that made several council members nervous. Your scientists brought this apex predator to the station for research purposes, Threll continued, his voice heavy with accusation. We need your expertise to recapture it before someone gets injured or worse. Our security teams are prey species. We're not equipped to handle something from Earth. The footage looped again. The creature padded down the corridor, tail swishing behind it. It paused at an intersection, sniffed the air, and then sat down and scratched behind its ear with its hind leg. That's when Emma lost it. She burst out laughing. Not a polite giggle or a nervous chuckle, but a full body, tears streaming down her face belly laugh that echoed through the council chamber louder than any Predator howl. Every alien in the room stared at her in horror. Emma! Rita hissed. Not appropriate! But Mom, Emma gasped between giggles, pointing at the hologram. That's just a golden retriever. The silence that followed was the kind that usually comes right before someone says something that changes everything. Pip had recovered consciousness just in time to hear this. Just a predator. What? Vreen said slowly, all 3 eyes fixed on the still laughing child. Is a golden retriever? Emma looked at her mother, then at the room full of terrified aliens, then back at the security footage where the apex predator had rolled onto its back and was wiggling around like it was trying to scratch its spine on the floor. Oh boy, Rita said, pinching the bridge of her nose. Okay, so here's the thing. I need everyone to stay calm when I explain this. Click's antennae twitched. That's twice now someone has said to stay calm. Rita took a deep breath. That creature on your security footage? Technically, yes. It's a predator from Earth, but it's about as dangerous as a... She looked around, the room for a comparison. As dangerous as one of those decorative glebe-norb plants in the corner. Those plants are poisonous, someone pointed out. Bad example. Look, the point is, humans domesticated these things thousands of years ago. We keep them as pets, companions, specifically for our children. The council chamber erupted into chaos. Emma was still giggling, now scrolling through her datapad. Want to see pictures of my friend's golden retriever? His name is Biscuit. Nobody wanted to see pictures of Biscuit. Domesticated. Threll repeated the word like it was in a language he'd never heard before. You domesticated a predator. An apex predator with forward-facing eyes and carnivorous dentition. Well, technically they're omnivores now, Danny helpfully added. We bred most of the hunting drive out of them. Now they mostly eat kibble and whatever falls on the floor during dinner. This explanation did not have the calming effect he'd intended. You bred them? Vreen's 3 eyes were doing something that probably wasn't medically advisable. You took a predator species and selectively modified their genetics for thousands of generations? I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds weird, Rita admitted. But yeah, that's pretty much what domestication is. We did it with a lot of species. Dogs, cats, horses, chickens, cows. Stop listing them, Pip shrieked. Emma had finally found what she was looking for on her datapad. Here, this is Biscuit. She held up the screen, showing a golden-furred dog wearing a birthday hat and surrounded by children. He's 7. His favorite thing is tennis balls and belly rubs. Click approached the datapad like it might explode, his compound eyes taking in the image. That creature is surrounded by human juveniles. Multiple human juveniles, and they appear to be celebrating with it. It's a birthday party, Emma explained patiently, like she was talking to someone very slow. Dogs are family members. Biscuit lives with the Johnsons. He sleeps on their couch. It sleeps in their dwelling? Threll's tail had gone rigid. Where else would he sleep? Emma looked genuinely confused. Rita decided to try a different approach. Okay, look, I understand this seems strange from your perspective, but you have to understand Earth's evolutionary environment. Our planet is what you call a Class 12 death world. Everything there is either predator or prey, and most things are both depending on the situation. Humans survived by being smart enough to realize we didn't have to do everything alone. So you befriended the predators, Vreen said flatly. Some of them? Yeah. Specifically, we befriended wolves about 40,000 years ago. Turns out, wolves are pack hunters, and humans are persistence hunters, and together we were better at surviving than apart. Over time, the wolves that were friendlier to humans had more puppies, and those puppies were even friendlier. And eventually, Rita gestured at the security footage, where the golden retriever was now lying on its back in apparent bliss. Eventually you get that. A creature whose entire evolutionary purpose is to be humanity's best friend. This is insane. Counselor Zephyk spoke up for the first time. His species were peaceful herbivores from a garden world. You're telling us that humans looked at a pack-hunting carnivore and decided to invite it into your homes? And our beds? Emma added cheerfully. Biscuit sleeps with Katie every night. Sometimes he snores. The Predator snores? Pip looked like he was going to faint again. Danny pulled up his own datapad. Want to see pictures of my corgi? Her name's Captain Fluffington. She's about a third of the size of that golden retriever and has legs like fuzzy hot dogs, but she thinks she's the queen of everything. There are multiple variants? Threll stood up so fast his chair fell over. Oh yeah, Rita said. We've bred dogs into hundreds of different shapes and sizes. Some of them are tiny enough to fit in your pocket. Some of them are bigger than that golden retriever out there. We've got fluffy ones, sleek ones, fast ones, lazy ones, smart ones, goofy ones. We have dog shows, Emma interrupted, where people compete to see whose dog is the best at being a dog. They have different categories like agility and obedience and best in show. Last year, Biscuit won third place in the local competition for friendliest dog. You have competitions for them? Vreen was now clutching his chest with two of his forearms. The prize was a trophy shaped like a bone and a bag of premium treats, Emma continued. Katie put the trophy on their mantle. Biscuit ate the treats in like 5 minutes. Click had pulled up the Xenobiology Lab's files on his console. According to these records, the specimen in question is named Charlie. He's 3 years old. His favorite activities include fetch, swimming, and something called greeting people at the door like every reunion is a miracle. He looked up. That's an actual quote from the file. That sounds about right for a golden retriever, Rita nodded. They're basically made of enthusiasm and poor decision-making skills. Charlie probably escaped because someone opened the containment field and he thought it was time to make friends. Friends, Threll said weakly. With us. I mean, yeah, that's what they do. That's literally their entire personality. Golden retrievers think everyone is their best friend. They're probably the least dangerous dog breed humans have created, and we did it on purpose because they're so good with kids. Emma bounced on her toes. Can I go get Charlie? Please? He's probably confused and scared. He doesn't know why all these weird aliens are running away from him. He just wants to say hi. The entire council stared at this small human child who had just volunteered to pursue an apex predator through the station corridors. Absolutely not. Threll started. Actually, Rita cut him off, looking thoughtful. She's probably the best qualified person on this station to catch him. And somehow, that statement made everything worse. 5 minutes later, Emma was walking through the Habitat Ring corridors with the confidence of someone who'd never considered that the universe might be dangerous. Behind her, at what they considered a safe distance of approximately 30 feet, Click and his security team followed with their weapons drawn. This is a terrible idea, Click muttered, his antennae twitching nervously. We're using a human juvenile as bait. She's not bait, Rita corrected, though she was also keeping her hand near her sidearm, just in case. She's the retrieval specialist. The child is 10 years old. Yeah, and she's been around dogs her entire life. Trust me, this is fine. It was not fine. Nothing about this situation was fine, but here they were anyway. Emma had stopped walking and was listening carefully. In the distance, they could hear it, the sound that had been terrorizing the station for the past 3 hours. A deep, resonant barking that echoed through the corridors like a countdown to doom. There he is, Emma said cheerfully. She cupped her hands around her mouth. Charlie. Here, boy. Who's a good boy? She's calling to it, one of the security officers whispered in horror. Of course she is, Danny said. He was filming this on his datapad. This is going to be great for the cultural exchange archives. The barking got louder, closer. The security team raised their weapons. Rita stepped forward, ready to grab Emma if things went sideways. And then, around the corner, came Charlie. He was a beautiful golden retriever, with fur that caught the station's artificial lighting like spun gold. His tail was wagging so hard his entire back half was wiggling. His mouth hung open in what humans recognized as a happy dog smile, tongue lolling out to the side. His eyes were bright with the kind of joy that only comes from spotting a potential friend. He saw Emma, and his entire body went into overdrive. The tail wagging intensified. He let out an excited bark that made 3 security officers drop their weapons and run. "Charlie!" Emma dropped to her knees and spread her arms wide. The apex predator broke into a run. 80 pounds of dog moving at full speed directly toward the human child while the aliens watched in frozen horror, certain they were about to witness a tragedy. Charlie reached Emma and promptly tackled her, knocking her flat on her back. Then he began licking her face with the enthusiasm of someone who'd been separated from their best friend for years instead of hours. Emma was laughing. Full body, delighted giggles while the terrifying predator gave her a tongue bath and wiggled on top of her like his tail was going to wag right off his body. "Good boy. Yes, you are. You're such a good boy. Did you get lost? Did you get scared? It's okay. I've got you now." Click lowered his weapon slowly, his antennae drooping in confusion. "I don't understand. Why isn't it eating her?" "Because he's a dog," Rita said, not bothering to hide her exasperation. "I've been trying to tell you. Dogs don't eat people. This one especially. Golden retrievers were bred to retrieve waterfowl for hunters, without damaging them. They have what we call a soft mouth. Charlie probably couldn't hurt Emma if he tried, and he definitely doesn't want to try." On the floor, Emma had managed to sit up. Charlie immediately put his head in her lap, looking up at her with absolute adoration while his tail continued its metronome of joy. She scratched behind his ears and he made a sound that was half groan, half sigh of contentment. "Who's a handsome boy?" "You are. Yes, you are. Such a handsome golden boy." "She's using baby talk to the predator," one security officer observed. "That's just how humans talk to dogs," Danny explained. "All of us do it. Even the tough military types. You should hear Admiral Jackson baby talking his Pomeranian. It's hilarious." "The Admiral has one too?" Click sounded faint. "Most of us do. Dogs are Earth's most popular pet. We've got an estimated 500 million of them living with humans at any given time." 500 million? Emma had pulled a treat from her pocket. Where she'd gotten a dog treat on an alien space station was anyone's guess, but she'd come prepared. Charlie's entire focus shifted to the small biscuit in her hand. He sat immediately, tail still wagging, eyes locked on the treat with laser focus. "Good sit, here you go." She gave him the treat, which he inhaled in 0.5 seconds, then immediately went back to trying to lick her face. Rita approached slowly, and Charlie's attention swiveled to her. His tail somehow wagged even harder. He bounded over to the adult human and sat directly on her feet, leaning his entire weight against her legs while looking up at her with pure love. "Yeah, hi Charlie. You caused quite a panic, buddy." Rita scratched his head and Charlie groaned with happiness. "It's submitting to her," Vreen observed. He'd finally worked up the courage to come see the capture. All 3 of his eyes were fixed on the scene. "He's not submitting. He's getting pets. There's a difference." Rita continued scratching while Charlie melted into a puddle of contentment. "Dogs are social animals. Physical affection is how we bond with them. Watch this. Charlie, roll over." Charlie dropped to the floor and rolled onto his back, exposing his belly in what every prey species recognized as a universal sign of vulnerability. His legs stuck up in the air. His tail was still wagging so hard it was thumping against the floor. Emma immediately dropped down and started rubbing his belly. Charlie's back leg started doing that thing where it kicks involuntarily, like he was trying to scratch the air. "The predator is showing its vulnerable areas," Click said slowly, his brain clearly struggling to process this. "And the humans are petting them. Belly rubs are serious business," Emma said solemnly, though she was grinning. "You gotta really get in there. Charlie loves belly rubs, don't you, boy?" "Yes, you do." Charlie's response was to wiggle more aggressively, somehow expressing through body language alone that this was the greatest moment of his entire life. "I think I need to sit down," Vreen said. "You're already sitting," Danny pointed out. "Then I need to sit down more." Rita pulled out a leash from her jacket pocket. "All right, Charlie. Fun's over. Time to go back." She clipped it to his collar, and Charlie popped up from his belly rub position, ready for whatever adventure came next. "He's wearing a collar," Click observed. "A restraint device. It's got his name tag and our contact information," Rita explained, "in case he gets lost." Which, clearly, he did. Emma took the leash from her mother. "Can I walk him back, please?" "Sure, kiddo." And so the security team, the human delegation, and several very confused council members walked back through the station corridors. At the front of this bizarre parade, a 10-year-old human child led an apex predator on a leash, while having a completely one-sided conversation with him about all the new friends he was going to make. Charlie's tail never stopped wagging once. The council chamber had never been designed for a dog. This became immediately apparent when Charlie trotted through the doors, spotted approximately 40 new potential friends, and lost his absolute mind with excitement. "Oh no," Rita said, but it was too late. Charlie pulled the leash out of Emma's hands like it was made of tissue paper and bolted into the room, tail wagging at speeds that defied physics. He made a beeline for Ambassador Pip, who shrieked and tried to climb onto his chair. This only made Charlie more interested because clearly this small, fluffy alien wanted to play chase. "Charlie, no!" Emma shouted, running after. "Him! The Predator is attacking!" Someone yelled. "He's not attacking, he's trying to say hello." Rita dove for the leash and missed. Charlie had decided that Pip was the most interesting person in the room, mostly because Pip was making high-pitched squeaking noises that sounded exactly like a squeaky toy. The dog planted his front paws on the chair, bringing his face level with the terrified ambassador, and proceeded to give him one long, slobbery lick right across the face. Pip went rigid, his eyes crossed. For a moment, everyone thought he might have died from sheer terror. Then Charlie sneezed directly into Pip's face, wagged his tail, and moved on to investigate Counselor Zephix, who had frozen like a statue in the universal prey animal response of, "Maybe if I don't move, it won't see me." Zephix was even fluffier than Pip, and Charlie apparently decided this meant they were the same species. He shoved his nose into Zephix's leafy fronds and inhaled deeply, his tail going into overdrive. Then he sat down, looked up at the counselor with pure adoration, and offered his paw. "What is it doing?" Zephix whispered, afraid to move. "He wants to shake hands," Emma explained, finally catching up. She was breathing hard from the chase. "It's a trick. It means he likes you. Take his paw." "Take the Predator's paw?" "Just do it. He won't stop until you do." Slowly, trembling, Zephix extended one tendril-like appendage. Charlie immediately placed his paw in it, tail wagging, looking enormously pleased with himself. Then he licked Zephix's tendril and trotted off to investigate the water dispensers. "I need everyone to understand something," Rita said, finally managing to grab Charlie's leash. "This is normal dog behavior. Enthusiastic, yes. Poorly timed, absolutely. But this is what dogs do. They're friendly. Aggressively friendly." Emma had plopped herself down on the floor in the middle of the council chamber, and Charlie immediately came over and flopped down next to her, putting his head in her lap. She resumed petting him like the last 2 minutes of chaos hadn't happened. "Your definition of friendly needs work," Threll muttered, but he'd lowered his defensive posture. Pip was still frozen in his chair, one hand touching his face where Charlie had licked him. "It put its mouth on me. Its mouth. With the teeth. Yeah, dogs lick people." "It's affection," Danny said. He'd gotten some excellent footage of the chaos. "You should feel honored. Charlie doesn't lick just anyone." "I don't want to be honored." Vreen had approached cautiously, all 3 eyes fixed on Charlie. The dog noticed him, and his tail started up again, but Emma had a firm grip on his collar now. "Ambassador Kowalski, I need to understand something. You said humans domesticated these creatures. How many of them exist?" "On Earth, probably somewhere between 400 and 500 million dogs, give or take. We don't have exact numbers because they're everywhere." The chamber went silent except for the sound of Charlie panting happily. "500 million, Vreen repeated. 500 million predators living alongside your species. Well, yeah, most families have at least one. Some people have 3 or 4. I have pictures of all my friends' dogs on my data pad," Emma offered helpfully. "Want to see?" "No," several council members said in unison, "but they're so cute." That word, cute. Click had been carefully observing Charlie from a distance. Humans keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. "Sure it does," Rita said. "Look at him. He's adorable." Charlie chose that moment to yawn, displaying every single one of his teeth in a cavernous mouth that would have made any prey species reconsider their life choices. Then he smacked his lips, farted loudly enough that everyone heard it, and went back to sleep in Emma's lap. "Adorable," Click repeated flatly. "Yes, that's definitely the word I would use." "You mentioned other species," Threll said carefully, like he was afraid of the answer. "You said you domesticated multiple predators." "Oh boy, here we go," Rita muttered. "Cats," Emma said brightly. Charlie's ear twitched at the word, but he didn't wake up. "We have cats too. They're smaller than dogs mostly, and they're less friendly, but they're really good at catching mice and looking pretty." "Smaller predators," Vreen said. "That sounds more reasonable." "They're actually better hunters than dogs," Danny added. "Cats are obligate carnivores. Their entire biology is designed for killing. They have retractable claws, teeth designed for shearing meat, and reflexes fast enough to snatch birds out of mid-air. And you keep these in your homes, why? Because they purr when you pet them, Emma said. Like this explained everything. And they're soft. My friend Jordan has a cat named Princess Fluffybottom who sleeps on his pillow every night. The predator sleeps next to his head? Well, yeah. Where else would she sleep? Rita decided to help dig the hole deeper. We also domesticated horses, which are prey animals, but they're huge and can kick hard enough to kill you. We ride them for fun. Cows, which we use for milk and meat. Chickens for eggs. Pigs, sheep, goats, rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters, and some people keep rats as pets. Rats? Pip had finally unfrozen. Those disease vectors? Domestic rats are actually really smart and clean, Emma said defensively. My friend Casey has 3 of them, and they know their names and do tricks. But surely, Zephyx said slowly, surely humans only domesticate small, manageable creatures? You wouldn't keep anything truly dangerous? Rita and Danny exchanged a look. Emma suddenly became very interested in petting Charlie. Define dangerous, Rita said carefully. Larger predators, apex species. Surely those remain wild. Well, mostly yes, Rita admitted. But some people do keep exotic pets. Which is illegal in most places, she added, quickly. But it happens. There are people who keep big cats, tigers, lions, cougars. Tigers? 3 of Vreen's eyes nearly popped out of his head. The striped death machines from your jungles? Yeah, but again, that's illegal. We're not saying it's a good idea. What else? Threll's voice had gone very quiet. What else have humans attempted to domesticate? Bears, sometimes. Wolves, though those are basically just dogs that didn't quite finish the domestication process. Alligators. Some people keep venomous snakes. Venomous snakes? Emma perked up. Oh yeah. My best friend Katie has a ball python named Spaghetti. He's so cool. He's like 4 feet long and 4 feet. That's actually pretty small for a python, Danny said. They can get up to 20 feet depending on the species. Charlie woke up from his nap, probably disturbed by all the shouting. He yawned again, stretched, and then noticed that Click was the only person in the room he hadn't properly investigated yet. With renewed enthusiasm, he hauled himself to his feet and trotted over to the security chief. No. No. Stay back, Predator. Click held up his hands defensively. Charlie sat down directly in front of him, tail wagging, and offered his paw again. He wants to shake, Emma called out. Just shake his paw and he'll leave you alone. That's not true, Rita corrected. He won't leave you alone, but he'll be happy. Click, with the resignation of someone who'd had the weirdest day of his life, reached out one thin insectoid limb. Charlie gently placed his paw on it, tail wagging so hard his whole body swayed. Then, with the social grace God gave golden retrievers, which is to say none, Charlie tried to climb into Click's lap. It's too heavy. Get it off. Get it off. Charlie, down, Emma commanded. Charlie ignored her completely, now trying to lick Click's face while the security chief flailed helplessly. Rita managed to pull the dog off, though Charlie looked enormously pleased. With himself. Sorry about that. Golden retrievers have 0 concept of personal space. I've noticed, Click said weakly, trying to straighten his uniform. Counselor Zephyx had been quiet, processing everything. Finally, he spoke. Let me see if I understand this correctly. Earth is so catastrophically dangerous that the dominant species couldn't survive alone. So humanity looked at the predators trying to eat them and decided the solution was friendship? That's a pretty reductive way to put it, but yeah, basically, Rita admitted. And this worked? Well, we're here, aren't we? Made it all the way to space travel. I'd say it worked pretty well. But at what cost to your collective sanity? Rita didn't have a good answer for that. The council chamber had descended into what could only be described as organized chaos. Half the council members were huddled in groups, whispering urgently about humanity's apparent insanity. The other half were cautiously approaching Charlie, who was absolutely living his best life with all this attention. Pip had discovered that if he scratched behind Charlie's ears in just the right spot, the dog's back leg would kick involuntarily, and he was now testing this repeatedly with the fascination of a scientist discovering a new law of physics. This is unprecedented, Threll announced, trying to restore some semblance of order. We've never had a predator registered as a cultural ambassador before. Cultural ambassador? Rita raised an eyebrow. Well, we can't exactly send him back to Earth on the next transport. That's 6 months away, and we certainly can't keep him in the xenobiology lab after this incident. The paperwork alone would be... Threll shuddered. Unthinkable. So you're saying Charlie can stay? Emma's face lit up like someone had just told her it was Christmas and her birthday combined. I'm saying we don't have much choice. But there will be conditions, rules, protocols. He'll need a council ID badge, Click said, already pulling up forms on his datapad. He'd gone from terrified to bureaucratically practical in record time. And vaccination records, and a designated handler, and insurance. So much insurance. I'll handle him. Emma volunteered immediately. I can take care of him while Mom works. I'm really responsible. I remembered to pack his treats, didn't I? Rita looked like she was about to object, then realized that Emma had, in fact, somehow procured dog treats before coming to an alien space station. You planned this. I hoped, Emma corrected. There's a difference. The human juvenile will be responsible for an apex predator, Vreen said, all three eyes watching Emma carefully. This should concern me more than it does, but honestly, after today, nothing surprises me anymore. I motion that we officially designate the creature as Earth Cultural Ambassador, Councillor Zefik said. All in favor? The vote was surprisingly unanimous, though Rita suspected it had less to do with cultural exchange, and more to do with the fact that nobody wanted to be responsible for telling humanity they couldn't keep their dog on the station. He needs a proper name, Pip said, still scratching Charlie's ears. The ambassador had recovered from his initial terror and was now completely enamored with the dog. Something dignified. Official. His name is Charlie, Emma said firmly. Yes, but he needs a title, a rank, something appropriate for a council ambassador. Danny, who had been quiet during the vote, suddenly grinned. How about Admiral Barkley? The room went silent. Admiral? Threll repeated. Barkley? Vreen added. It's perfect, Danny said, unable to keep the laughter out of his voice. He's the official Earth ambassador. Ambassadors usually have ranks. And Barkley, because, you know. He gestured at Charlie, who chose that moment to bark excitedly at a floating dust mote. I love it, Emma declared. Admiral Charlie Barkley, Earth Cultural Ambassador. This is the most ridiculous thing I've ever been part of, Threll muttered. But he was already updating the official records. Fine. Admiral Barkley it is. Charlie, blissfully unaware that he'd just been promoted to Admiral, rolled onto his back and demanded more belly rubs. Pip obliged immediately. So wait, Click said, looking up from his datapad. You mentioned dog shows earlier. Competitions. What exactly happens at these events? Oh, they're great. Emma pulled out her datapad, ignoring her mother's warning look. There are all these different categories. Like, there's agility where the dogs run through obstacle courses, and obedience where they have to follow commands perfectly, and confirmation where judges decide which dog looks the most like the perfect example of their breed. You judge the predators aesthetically. Vreen looked fascinated and horrified in equal measure. Well, yeah, different breeds have different standards. Like, golden retrievers are supposed to have a certain shape and temperament. German shepherds are different. Chihuahuas are totally different. We bred them all for specific purposes. Show them the Chihuahua picture, Danny said with a wicked grin. Don't you dare, Rita warned. But it was too late. Emma had already pulled up a photo of her aunt's Chihuahua, a tiny bug-eyed creature that weighed maybe 5 pounds soaking wet and looked like it was perpetually angry at the universe. That's also a predator. Pip stared at the image. It looks like it could fit in my pocket. Chihuahuas think they're the size of Great Danes, Emma explained. They're basically tiny balls of rage and Napoleon complex. Auntie Maria's Chihuahua once chased a mailman 3 blocks. How? Click asked. Its legs are smaller than my antennae. Pure spite and determination, Rita said. Never underestimate a Chihuahua's commitment to being angry. So you bred predators to be smaller? Threll was taking notes now. Why? Because they're cute and portable, Emma said simply. You can take them anywhere. They fit in purses. Some people dress them in costumes. Costumes. Oh yeah. For Halloween, or Christmas, or just for fun, there are entire stores dedicated to dog clothing. Sweaters, jackets, boots, hats, costumes. You put clothing on the predators? Vreen's 3 eyes were doing that bulging thing again. Some dogs get cold, Danny said defensively. And some of them look adorable in superhero capes. Rita pulled up her own datapad. You want to see something really wild? This is the Westminster Dog Show. It's one of the biggest dog competitions on Earth. She showed them footage of Madison Square Garden filled with thousands of humans watching immaculately groomed dogs parade around a ring while judges examined them, critically. The aliens watched in stunned silence, as a perfectly coiffed poodle pranced across the screen, its fur sculpted into elaborate puffs and patterns. "What happened to that one?" Click asked. "Why does it look like that?" "That's grooming. Professional grooming. People spend hours making show dogs look perfect. You sculpt the predators? Some breeds require it for shows, poodles especially. That cut is traditional." "Traditional predator sculpting," Threll said slowly. "Of course. Why not? What else could possibly surprise me today?" Emma, with the impeccable timing of a 10-year-old who doesn't know when to stop, said, "Oh, do you want to hear about agility courses? They're so cool. We set up these obstacle courses with jumps and tunnels and weave poles, and the dogs have to run through them as fast as possible while following their handlers' commands. Some dogs can do a whole course in under 30 seconds. You train the predators to jump through hoops," Vreen said, "and over bars, and through tunnels, and literal hoops. You make them dance for treats." Well, when you say it like that, it sounds silly. Because it is silly. But Vreen was smiling now, or doing whatever his species did that approximated a smile. "Your species domesticated apex predators and then spent thousands of years making them jump through hoops for entertainment. And giving them birthday parties," Pip added. He was still petting Charlie, who had fallen asleep again. "Don't forget the birthday parties with the hats. The hats are important," Emma agreed solemnly. Zefix had been quiet, observing everything with his analytical scientist's mind. Finally, he spoke. "I think I'm beginning to understand something about humans. Your world is so dangerous that you had two choices: fight everything, or befriend everything. You chose befriending. Not everything," Rita corrected. "We still fight mosquitoes. And geese. Nobody has successfully domesticated geese. They're demons with feathers. But the principle stands," Zefix continued. "Humans survive by forming alliances. Not just with each other, but with other species. You look at a wolf and see a potential partner. You look at a wild cat and think, that could live in my house. This explains so much about how you approach galactic diplomacy." "We're friendly?" Danny suggested. "You're insane," Threll corrected. "But in a way that's somehow working out." Charlie woke up, yawned, and farted again. Emma giggled. Pip wrinkled his nose but kept petting the dog anyway. "So," Click said carefully, "you mentioned that your friend has a python?" "Oh yeah, Spaghetti. He's so cool." Emma immediately started scrolling through her datapad again. "Emma," Rita said warningly, "Katie sends me pictures all the time. He just shed his skin last week and—" "Shed his skin?" Several council members said in unison. "That's what snakes do. They grow out of their old skin and then—" "Nope." Threll stood up abruptly. "No. We're done. No more Earth animals today. I need to process. We all need to process. But I haven't even told you about the tarantulas yet." "Tarantulas?" "Emma, stop helping," Rita said, but she was, grinning now. "My friend Jordan has 3 of them. They're fuzzy and—" "Fuzzy what? What is fuzzy?" "Giant spiders," Danny supplied helpfully. "Some people keep them as pets. They're actually pretty docile." Pip had gone pale, which was impressive considering his fur was already white. "Spiders. Giant. Fuzzy. Spiders. They're not that big. Maybe the size of your hand. That's enormous." Charlie, sensing the rising tension in the room, stood up and shook himself vigorously, his tags jingling. Then he walked over to Threll, sat down, and placed one paw on the counselor's foot. His tail wagged slowly, deliberately, and he looked up at the tall reptilian with an expression of pure, uncomplicated affection. Threll looked down at the dog. The dog looked up at him. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Threll reached down and patted Charlie's head awkwardly. Charlie's tail wagging intensified. "I suppose," the counselor said slowly, "if we survive today, we can survive anything humanity brings to this station." "That's the spirit," Rita said cheerfully. "But no spiders. I'm putting that in writing. No spiders on this station." "What about snakes?" Emma asked innocently. "Emma, I'm just asking. No snakes either. What about no more Earth animals? Admiral Barkley is enough." Charlie barked in agreement, or possibly he just wanted more treats. Emma pulled one from her pocket and he sat immediately, the perfect picture of obedience and good behavior. He took the treat gently from her hand, tail wagging the whole time. "You know," Vreen said thoughtfully, watching the girl and the dog. "In a strange way, I think I understand now. Humans don't see predators the way we do. You see potential friends. Everything is a potential friend until proven otherwise." "That's actually a pretty good summary of human foreign policy," Rita admitted. It explains why you approached the Galactic Council with open arms when most species spent decades being cautious. Well, yeah, why wouldn't we? You all seem nice. We have weapons that could destroy your planet. So do we. Doesn't mean we can't be friends. Click made a sound that might have been a laugh or might have been a sob. Humanity is going to revolutionize the galaxy, or get us all killed. Possibly both. Probably both, Danny agreed cheerfully. Emma had laid down on the floor, and Charlie immediately flopped down next to her, resting his head on her stomach. Within seconds, the terrifying apex predator was snoring softly, completely at peace in a room full of aliens who'd been terrified of him an hour ago. I'm calling it now, Pip said, scratching behind Charlie's ears one more time. Within a year, half the station is going to want one of these. Absolutely not, Threll said. You say that now, Rita grinned. But just wait until you see a puppy. Nobody can resist puppies. What's a puppy? Baby dogs. The horror on Threll's face was immediate. They reproduce? Well, yeah. How do you think we get more dogs? I assumed you cloned them or something sensible. Nope. Natural reproduction. And the babies are even cuter than the adults. They're tiny and clumsy, and they fall asleep in the middle of playing and… Stop. Just stop. I can't handle any more today. Emma sat up, disturbing Charlie, who grumbled in his sleep. She pulled out her datapad one more time. But I have so many pictures of puppies, and kittens, and baby bunnies. Want to see? No, the council said in unison. But Pip leaned over to look at the datapad anyway, and within seconds he was making high-pitched cooing sounds at pictures of golden retriever puppies tumbling over each other in a basket. Oh no, Click said. He's been compromised. They're so fluffy, Pip whispered, his eyes wide. It's too late for him, Vreen said solemnly. The humans have won. Rita watched as, one by one, the council members found excuses to walk past Emma's datapad, each one sneaking a glance at the puppy pictures. Even Threll, who was pretending to review security protocols, kept glancing over. Charlie woke up, noticed he wasn't the center of attention anymore, and barked once. Immediately, every eye in the room turned to him. His tail started wagging. He playbowed, his front end down and his rear end up. The universal dog signal for, let's have fun. Is it challenging us? Click asked nervously. He wants to play, Emma said. She pulled a small ball from her pocket. How many pockets did this child have and what else was in them? And rolled it across the floor. Charlie exploded into action, chasing the ball with single-minded determination. He caught it, brought it back to Emma, and dropped it at her feet, his entire body wiggling with excitement. Again! Again! Emma threw the ball. Charlie chased it. The pattern repeated. That's fetch, Danny explained to the mesmerized aliens. It's one of the most popular games to play with dogs. You throw things, they bring them back. They never get tired of it. Never? Some dogs will play fetch until they collapse from exhaustion. You have to make them stop. The Predator does this voluntarily? For fun? Yeah, because it's fun. That's the whole point. Zephix was taking notes. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. We've completely misunderstood what domestication means. We thought it was about control. But it's actually about partnership. Mutual benefit. Companionship. Now you're getting it, Rita said. And this is common on Earth? This kind of relationship between species? It's the foundation of human civilization. We domesticated wheat and rice. We partnered with dogs and cats. We cultivated relationships with horses for transportation and cows for milk. Everything we built together with other species. That's just how we do things. And now you're here, trying to do the same thing with us, Threll said slowly. The Galactic Council. You see us as potential partners, not threats or competitors. Well, yeah. Why would we come all the way out here just to fight? We can do that at home. We came here to make friends. Charlie chose that moment to abandon the ballgame and instead flop down in the middle of the council chamber floor, roll onto his back, and wiggle around while making sounds that could only be described as ridiculous. What is it doing now? Vreen asked. I think he's scratching his back, Emma said. Or he's just being goofy. It's hard to tell with Charlie. He's kind of a goofball. A goofball, Click repeated. The apex predator is a goofball. The admiral is a goofball, Danny corrected. Show some respect for his rank. That broke the tension completely. Pip started laughing first, then Zephix, and then even Threll cracked a smile. Within moments, the entire council chamber was filled with the sounds of various species laughing at the absurdity of the day. Charlie, delighted by all the noise and attention, scrambled to his feet and started making the rounds again, greeting everyone like he was running for office and needed their votes. His tail never stopped wagging. "You know what?" Threll said, watching the dog work the room. "I think Admiral Barkley might be the best diplomat on this station. He definitely has the best approval rating." Rita agreed. Emma was beaming, her face flushed with happiness. "Can I really be his handler? Official and everything?" "Someone has to be," Threll said. "Might as well be someone who actually knows what they're doing. I'll take such good care of him. We can set up an ambassador program. Other people's kids can come meet him and learn about Earth animals. It'll be educational. Let's start with surviving one dog before we turn this into a petting zoo," Rita said quickly. "But Mom, Emma, fine, but can we at least get him a proper ambassador badge? With his picture?" Click was already working on it. "Done. It'll be ready tomorrow. Official identification for Admiral Charlie Barkley, Earth. Cultural ambassador to the Galactic Council." Charlie, hearing his name, trotted over and sat in front of Click, waiting expectantly for treats or praise or both. The security chief, with the air of someone who'd completely surrendered to the chaos, pulled out a protein bar from his rations and broke off a small piece. "Can he eat that?" he asked belatedly. "Probably not great for him, but one piece won't hurt," Rita said. Charlie took the offering gently, ate it, and then licked Click's hand in gratitude. The security chief's antennae drooped in what might have been contentment. "We're all doomed," Vreen said, but he was smiling. "Humanity is going to introduce us to 1,000 different Earth creatures and we're going to adopt them all, aren't we?" "Not if I have anything to say about it," Threll declared. "One dog. That's it. That's the limit." "What about cats?" Pip asked hopefully. "No. But they're smaller. No more Earth predators. What about rabbits?" Emma said those were prey animals. "Are they actually?" Threll asked suspiciously, turning to Rita. "Yeah, rabbits are prey animals. Totally harmless. They just eat plants and hop around being cute." "Hop around? They jump. It's how they move. They're very soft and fluffy, and they make excellent pets for small spaces." Threll stared at her for a long moment. "Why do I feel like you're setting me up for something?" "I have no idea what you mean," Rita said innocently. Charlie barked, drawing attention back to himself. He'd found his ball again and was offering it to anyone who would play with him. Counselor Zefix, surprising everyone, reached down and picked it up. He looked at it, looked at the dog, and then threw it weakly across the room. Charlie exploded after it like he'd been shot from a cannon. "He seems to really enjoy that," Zefix observed. "Wait until you try it 100 times, Danny said. Then you'll understand why we invented automatic ball launchers. You invented machines to play with. The Predators? We invented a lot of machines for dogs. Automatic feeders, automatic ball launchers, GPS tracking collars, cooling vests, life jackets for swimming." "Life jackets," Pip interrupted. "Can't they swim?" "Most can, but some breeds are better at it than others, and we like to keep them safe. You protect the predators. Their family," Emma said simply. "You protect your family." And somehow, that statement hit differently than all the explanations and demonstrations. The aliens looked at Charlie, who'd returned with his ball and was now trying to convince Zefix to throw it again, and something clicked. "They're not weapons," Vreen said softly. "They're not tools. They're companions, partners, family." "Now you really get it," Rita said. Threll sighed deeply. "Fine, Admiral Barkley can stay. But Emma, you're responsible for him. All of his care, feeding, exercise, and keeping him out of trouble. Understood?" "Understood," Emma saluted, then ruined it by squealing and hugging her mother. "And absolutely no bringing your friend's python to the station." "What about pictures of the python?" "Emma, I'm just asking." Charlie, sensing the happy energy, started running in circles for no apparent reason, his joy so pure and uncontainable that it was infectious. Even the most reluctant council members found themselves smiling. "You know," Click said thoughtfully, "this might actually be good for morale. The station's been pretty tense with all the political negotiations. A dog might help people relax." "That's the spirit," Rita said. "See? Admiral Barkley is already doing his job." The dog in question had tired himself out and was now lying on his back again, tongue lolling out of his mouth, looking absolutely ridiculous and completely content. "Welcome to the Galactic Council, Admiral," Threll said formally. "Try not to eat anyone." Charlie's tail thumped against the floor twice in acknowledgement. Or maybe he was just dreaming of treats. Either way, it was official. Humanity had successfully introduced the galaxy to its first dog, and somehow, everyone had survived the experience. So, Emma said hopefully, looking around at the assembled aliens. Who wants to learn how to teach him tricks? He already knows sit, stay, and shake. We could teach him to high-five next. The groans from the council were unanimous, but Pip was already asking questions about the training process. It was going to be a long, strange adventure. But looking at Admiral Charlie Barkley, official Earth Cultural Ambassador, snoring softly in the middle of the Galactic Council chamber, while a 10-year-old human girl explained the finer points of positive reinforcement training to a group of utterly baffled aliens, Rita Kowalski couldn't help but think that maybe, just maybe, humanity's approach to galactic diplomacy wasn't so crazy after all. Or maybe it was completely insane and they were all just lucky it was working. Either way, Charlie was happy. And really, wasn't that what mattered? His tail thumped one more time in his sleep, and somewhere in the station, humanity's reputation shifted just a little bit more toward absolutely unhinged, but in a mostly harmless way. The galaxy would never be the same, and honestly, that was probably for the best.